Okay, let's have a quick discussion on this.
I want some nasty! Are we having fun yet?
Once again, I apologize if you hear banging and thumping, dude. They're still working on the apartment next door. It is so obnoxious. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about this. So big shout out to a YouTube member by the name of the World of Swine. I think Swin. I think, I don't know, Swin. Hey, anyways, but yeah, they asked a question that I really like. They had a few things here, and I might address one of these in a different video. But should we have drafted Eason? I think this is a really good question because I've actually seen a few people talk about this, especially around Summer League, especially with how he's been performing and how he's been in a lot of highlight reels of late. But with that being said, I do want to just have like a brief discussion about this. So Tari Eason, as you guys know, when we were live streaming the draft, I wanted Tari Eason. Like, I was really quick to say, get Tari Eason at 9. But this was the problem. I didn't know that Tari Eason was necessarily projected to go later. There were so many different reports coming out at that time that it did feel as if people were trying to really push his value back. Like, they were saying a lot of negative things about him. We went over this in other videos, so I won't like harp on it, but they were saying his IQ is low, and it seemed as if other teams were trying to grab him. And I thought that it was all just a ploy, and I didn't think that it would work. So I was assuming that Tari Eason would be gone by like 12 or 13. And I was assuming that Jeremy Sochan, because a lot of reports were coming out that maybe his value have dropped, I was expecting him to go a little bit later in the draft. So I was thinking, and maybe I was just way too optimistic, I was thinking that we could grab Tari Eason at that spot and get Sochan at 20, maybe. But then I was thinking, well, maybe we can draft or trade away Jakob and then try to take that 13th pick from Charlotte and get Jeremy Sochan there. So I wanted both of these guys. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get across. I did want both of these guys. But now, how do I feel about it? I don't think that the Spurs should have got Tari Eason over Sochan, now that I know what I know about the projections and where these guys actually were going to go. Because the fact of the matter is, while I love Tari Eason, I don't know if he'll have the same versatility as Jeremy Sochan. Like, when I look at Jeremy Sochan, he's one of those players that I think is going to be very hard to find. Okay, true diamond in the rough. It's going to be a rarity, and it is a rarity to find a guy that can guard a center basically all game and switch between 1 through 5. That is not easy to find at his size, at his with his basketball IQ, with his offensive ability to get others involved. That's something that's not necessarily easy to find in the NBA. Now, not to say Tari Eason is easy to find, because that's not true at all. Like, with his hand size and everything, his wingspan, and his ability to play defense and shoot on the offensive end, that's a rarity too. But I had to sit back and I was like, you know what? I think I had a certain amount of biases when it came to Tari Eason. I'll be honest with you guys, I do miss Kawhi, and I don't think that I miss Kawhi as far as like his personality or what he did to the Spurs. Obviously, I miss Kawhi just because he was basically our last superstar. Like, maybe you can make an argument that LaMarcus Aldridge was, but I don't think so. I think Kawhi was genuinely the last superstar that we had on this squad. And I'll be honest in saying, yeah, I do kind of miss that. And Tari Eason is the closest thing to that, especially in this draft, but that doesn't necessarily mean he will be that. But what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, I think when you look at someone like Jeremy Sochan, he's more of a rarity. He's going to be somebody that you're not necessarily going to find in every single draft or find around the league. And Tari Eason, while he is effective, like he is a good player, I think that you can find two ways, both of which are rare, but I think Sochan is even more rare. And not only that, another thing too, when I talk about versatility, oftentimes, you know, we are alluding to the fact that he can pass the ball, he can bring the ball up the court, he has high IQ, defensively he can guard 1 through 5, but I also mean versatility as far as his worldly experience, the fact that he's played overseas and had to play more of a more of a upfront game, and then you come back down to the United States and then you have to play a back to the basket type game. So all I'm trying to say is, I think that there's a lot more versatility here in this player than you would find in necessarily Tari Eason. Another thing as well is Tari Eason, I wasn't expecting him to go as low as he did, but if it had to come down, let's just say hypothetically, because it could have easily happened this way, right? Hypothetically, let's say it was between Tari Eason and Malachi Branham, I think I would have took Malachi. Malachi is just a better player. So the Spurs, there was no real opportunity that made sense to go after Tari Eason, especially when you understood the projections of everything. I also don't necessarily know how everything went as far as him working out with the Spurs. I know from his account, everything went good, everything went well, but it was nothing really coming out of the Spurs camp at all about how everything went. Not to say that they were open about every player, but usually you got a little bit more information from some of the guys that we did work out. But look, I think that this draft went perfect, and I don't think that you necessarily need to have recency bias when it comes to Tari Eason. It was a summer league, he got to play. Jeremy Sochan hasn't even been able to play yet. So, and another thing too, and this is gonna be my last point, I think Tari Eason might just have a higher floor than Jeremy Sochan maybe, but I think Sochan has a higher ceiling. Like if you look at Tari Eason right now, I think that a lot of people are gonna look at him, especially Spurs fans, they're gonna look at him and say, oh dude, he's just better than Jeremy Sochan. But I think that his offensive ability as far as shooting is more advanced than Sochan, and he's gonna look a little bit better at times. Sochan is probably gonna take a couple years for him to adjust. He's quick to adjust, but I think it's gonna take a couple years for him to really hone in on his skills. And that shooting percentage that he has, he's a decent catch and shooter, but when it comes to off the dribble, he's not great. He's not great at that jump shot. But he has a willingness to shoot. He's not Ben Simmons, okay? He has a willingness to shoot. But I just think that as far as tweaking that jump shot, that's going to take a little time. So while Tari Eason, right now, the package is like, oh, you get a really good package, a really nice player with him. Jeremy Sochan, I think that he's more of a rarity, and when it's all said and done, we're going to be much more happy that we took him instead of Eason. But those are my thoughts on it. I just kind of rambled a little bit, I know, but yeah, that's just how I feel about it, guys. Let me know how you feel about this. Big shout out once again to the world of Swine, I think. Thank you. Thanks for commenting. If you guys want to support the channel as well, it's only $2 per month. Patreon and YouTube links below. Until next time, man. Deuces.